André Rieu had it all, a fortune so huge it could rival rock legends, castles fit for royalty, and sold-out arenas in every corner of the world. But behind all the glittering costumes, flashing lights, and standing ovations, there was a story nobody saw coming. André built an empire worth $40 million from classical music alone, something unheard of even for the biggest pop stars today. But why then would this massive fortune someday become the very reason tears rolled down the faces of his closest family? André didn't start out rich. Growing up, he was just a kid who loved music. His dad was the conductor of the Maastricht Symphony Orchestra, so music was always around him, always part of his life. But André knew from early on that he didn't want to sit quietly in a stuffy concert hall. He wanted something bigger, louder, and far more exciting. He wanted crowds to clap, sing, and jump up from their seats. Step by step, André built exactly that. In 1987, André took a huge risk that would either make him a legend or ruin him forever. He founded the Johann Strauss Orchestra, not some small group playing quietly for polite applause, but a full-on dazzling entertainment powerhouse. What started with just 12 musicians quickly exploded to over 60 performers from every corner of the globe. André didn't just play classical waltzes. He put on shows packed with everything from Strauss classics to the Macarena, and it worked. Fans loved it. Tickets flew off the shelves, and soon he wasn't just filling theaters, he was packing entire arenas and stadiums worldwide. Money poured in faster than anyone expected. By the early 2000s, André wasn't just successful. He was outselling massive acts like AC/DC, Bruce Springsteen, and Coldplay. His shows made millions per night, and his DVDs flew off shelves in every country. Fans traveled thousands of miles, paid huge prices, and cheered like they were at rock concerts. André's empire was booming, and his wealth ballooned dramatically, making him the richest violinist alive. But André didn't keep his wealth hidden quietly in the bank. Instead, he poured money into creating even bigger spectacles. In 2008, he risked almost everything he owned by designing a jaw-dropping $30 million stage for his concert at Schönbrunn Palace in Vienna. It looked like a fairy tale, covered in gold, crystal, and lavish details, exactly what fans dreamed of seeing from André Rieu. But that fairy tale almost cost him everything. The huge cost pushed him to the edge of bankruptcy, nearly wiping out decades of earnings overnight. André had taken risks before, but this one nearly broke him completely. Yet he refused to quit. Slowly, concert after concert, André climbed back, paying off his debts and turning his shows into even bigger successes. Within a few years, he was richer than ever, bouncing back stronger and smarter. He expanded his concerts into global cinema events, streaming performances in theaters worldwide, making millions more. Fans who couldn't fly to see him live flocked to cinemas, paying premium prices to experience the excitement on the big screen. André's wealth didn't just recover, it doubled and then tripled, reaching a jaw-dropping $40 million by 2023. But André didn't build his fortune alone. His family was there from the start, especially his wife Marjorie, who was much more than just his partner. Marjorie designed the costumes, helped choose venues, and planned the dazzling stage sets that became famous worldwide. Together, they made every show unforgettable, creating an entertainment empire that became a true family business. Their son Pierre even stepped into a major role, becoming vice president of André Rieu Productions, turning the whole operation into something like a musical dynasty. André's shows became legendary, but he never forgot his roots. He lived in Maastricht in a castle built in 1452. Yes, an actual castle. This was no ordinary mansion. It was the legendary place where D'Artagnan of the Three Musketeers had his final meal before dying in battle. André had dreamt about owning it since childhood, and now he did. He poured millions into renovating every inch, turning it into a dream palace filled with priceless art, sparkling chandeliers, and gardens that belonged in fairy tales. Even with all this wealth, André didn't slow down. He kept expanding his concerts, touring nonstop from Europe and America to Australia and Japan. Each year, his tours grew larger, his audiences bigger, and his fortune multiplied. He wasn't just a musician anymore, he was a superstar, a global phenomenon whose brand grew into an unstoppable money-making machine. Yet, despite all the glitz and glamour, André kept one surprising habit: baking. During the lockdown in 2020, with concerts canceled and millions in ticket sales vanishing overnight, André did something unexpected. He started baking cakes and sharing them with neighbors. It wasn't flashy or extravagant, just simple human kindness. A gentle reminder that behind the massive empire was a man who still valued community and simple joys. But there was more to André's fortune than meets the eye. André's empire depended on him performing non-stop, and when he fell sick in 2010 with a severe ear infection, everything nearly collapsed again. Doctors were stunned he hadn't gotten sick sooner given how demanding his schedule was. For the first time, his family realized just how fragile this fortune was. Everything they built depended entirely on André's health. One illness or canceled tour could cost them millions instantly. The pressure was enormous, but André recovered and pushed forward, refusing to slow down, determined to keep the music and money flowing. Yet behind the scenes, the family struggled with managing an empire worth tens of millions, facing risks nobody knew about. Each spectacular show was a gamble costing millions in set designs, venues, musicians, and marketing. Any failure could threaten everything André built. Then came another hidden secret. André's fortune wasn't just in concerts. Quietly, he'd been building an enormous real estate portfolio, investing millions into luxury properties around Europe. Fans knew about his Maastricht castle, but few realized just how vast his property empire had become. That Maastricht castle wasn't some random mansion. It had serious history attached. Built in 1452, it once belonged to Charles de Bat's Castelmour d'Artagnan, the real-life inspiration behind the Three Musketeers. But when André first saw this place, it wasn't exactly luxurious. He first stepped inside at just 6 years old for piano lessons, and trust me, it wasn't love at first sight. The place was dark, falling apart, and kind of creepy. Definitely not where you'd imagine living your best life. Fast forward decades later, and that spooky old castle became the shining heart of André's empire, transformed from a gloomy ruin into an incredible fairy tale-like estate. Inside his Maastricht castle, André surrounded himself with the kind of luxuries most of us only see on Netflix. Take his Stradivarius violin. This wasn't your average instrument. Made by Antonio Stradivari way back in 1692, André bought it in 2018 for a whopping $7 million. And this was his third Stradivarius. The first one he owned, from 1667, was one of Stradivari's earliest pieces, but it was tough to play. Even so, André turned its challenging sound into gold, recording some of his greatest albums with it. Owning multiple multi-million-dollar violins, André didn't just love music. He was playing in a league of his own. André's luxury lifestyle didn't stop at instruments. He took control over every single detail of his concerts. Even the clothes his orchestra wore, those gorgeous gowns worn by his female musicians. André designed each one personally, inspired by historical figures like Empress Elizabeth of Austria. These dresses were no joke, costing around $3,000 each. Multiply that by dozens of musicians every tour, and it starts to make sense why André once faced bankruptcy over his stage designs. Yeah, bankruptcy. Remember that insane stage set he created for his concerts in Vienna back in 2008? It was a perfect copy of Schönbrunn Palace, complete with fountains, real ice rinks, gold carriages, and dancers in extravagant ballrooms. Sounds epic, right? But epic comes with a price. André blew a staggering $34 million building it. He didn't just build one. He built 3 separate sets, touring them around the world and burning through cash at a mind-blowing rate. It was flashy, it was brilliant, but it nearly ended him. André ended up sitting down with his bank manager to discuss what they could take away to settle the enormous debts. Yet somehow, he survived that crisis and bounced back even stronger. This guy was unstoppable. Or was he? At home, things looked peaceful, comfortable, even normal. At least as normal as life inside a real-life castle could ever be. André had been married to Marjorie since 1975, and together they had 2 sons, Marc and Pierre. Their family photos hung proudly on the castle walls, memories of simpler days when André was just starting out. But now even his family played key roles in his empire. Marjorie wrote the scripts for his concerts, adding words to the music that touched millions around the world. Pierre, their younger son, stepped up big time, becoming vice president of André Rieu Productions. Family dinners might have looked like simple get-togethers, but they were board meetings in disguise, business mixed with family at every meal. But under all this glittering lifestyle and delicious desserts, André's childhood wasn't exactly joyful. Growing up in a small, crowded house in Maastricht with 5 siblings wasn't easy. His dad was an orchestra conductor but didn't show him much affection. His mom was even tougher. André believed they were jealous of his natural talent because within weeks of picking up a violin at 5 years old, he was playing beautifully. He escaped the tough times through music, but the scars remained, pushing him constantly towards more success, more approval, more extravagance. That drive to prove himself showed clearly when André first started out back in 1978. He formed his very first ensemble. Just 12 musicians playing weddings and small restaurants. Money was tight, audiences hardly noticed them, sometimes not even looking up from their dinner. André almost quit music completely, even joking about opening a pizza restaurant instead. Imagine André Rieu serving pizza Paganini tableside, violin in hand. But luckily for millions of fans worldwide, he stuck with music. In 1987, André revamped his group, creating the now famous Johann Strauss Orchestra. He idolized Johann Strauss, the original waltz king, who proved musicians could also be business masterminds. Strauss had 5 orchestras running simultaneously. André settled for one massive orchestra, now the largest privately owned orchestra globally. They toured everywhere, from packed stadiums in Europe to sold-out arenas across America and Asia. André's success exploded unexpectedly during one unforgettable soccer match in 1995. Ajax was playing Bayern Munich in the Champions League final, and André cleverly bought 1 minute of live TV coverage during halftime to showcase his music. Ajax scored just before halftime. Perfect timing. Millions watched André perform Shostakovich's Waltz No. 2 live on TV. The next week, he sold over 200,000 CDs, launching him instantly from local musician to global superstar. One well-timed soccer goal changed everything for him. With success came even bigger dreams. André poured millions into making his shows the most spectacular events possible. Fake snow, balloon drops, lavish ball gowns. Every show was an over-the-top celebration. He famously insisted on serving real champagne during performances, even though he didn't drink it himself, just to keep things authentic. Fans loved the spectacle. Critics raised eyebrows, but André didn't care. He wanted authenticity, no shortcuts, no pretending. Despite all this luxury, André kept things relatable. He collected Tintin comics, taught himself Spanish during lockdown by reading crime novels, and still treasured a simple toy truck from his childhood. This truck wasn't just a toy. It was a reminder of simpler days when he and his brother Robert built cars from scrap wood and old wheels. But André wasn't just some millionaire collector living in the past. He had his eyes firmly set on the future. With his orchestra bigger than ever, now officially the largest private orchestra on Earth with 60 musicians plus an army of support staff, André had bigger plans. Much bigger. He wasn't satisfied with being the world's top classical superstar or selling 40 million albums. He wanted to achieve something no musician had ever done before. André wanted to play a concert on the moon. Yeah, you heard that right. The moon. André wasn't joking around. He even had a serious chat with billionaire Richard Branson about building a hotel on the lunar surface. Branson, famous for his wild plans, promised to get it done. And André? He fully intended to take his massive Johann Strauss orchestra up there, instruments and all, to play the world's first space concert. It sounded crazy, until you remembered this was the guy who made classical music outsell Beyoncé and Metallica. If anyone could make a lunar concert happen, it was André Rieu. But how did André even reach this level of wild success and ambition? Well, unlike most classical groups relying on schools or rich donors, André built his orchestra entirely by himself. Back in the late 80s, he had almost nothing, just a wild dream and a handful of musicians who trusted him. André took huge risks from day one. With no sponsors or government support, he poured every penny he made from ticket sales and albums right back into the orchestra. Today, running this massive operation costs him at least $1 million every month, without even counting touring expenses. That meant each performance had to sell out, and every album had to top charts. Otherwise, the whole thing would collapse overnight. André kept about 110 people permanently on his payroll, from musicians to lighting technicians and cooks, plus another 100 freelancers who handled logistics, travel, and marketing worldwide. It wasn't just a business. It was a family, his second family, one that traveled together around the globe, setting up and tearing down huge stage sets in arenas from Mexico City to Sydney. Each city required 9 enormous trucks packed with lights, costumes, instruments, props, and equipment. His crew worked non-stop, often building the stage from scratch at 7 a.m., then tearing it down right after the 3-hour show finished around midnight. Every performance felt like magic to the audience, but behind the scenes it was hard, disciplined work. André ran a tight ship, no rock star antics allowed. Forget wild parties. His team traveled with their own chefs to eat healthy meals. André himself took naps before each concert to stay fresh. He knew that one bad show or one tired night could damage his reputation and cost millions. After every concert, André insisted on celebrating with his musicians, not with wild champagne parties, but with good wine and casual chats. This wasn't just business to André, it was his life's passion. This relentless work ethic paid off big time. André's album sales were incredible, even in an era of streaming and digital music. His label Universal Music had been working with him for over 2 decades, producing staggering results. In 20 years, André sold more than 40 million albums. Worldwide, numbers usually reserved for pop stars, not violinists. And despite predictions that DVDs were dead, André's fans still bought millions of them each year, especially those filmed during his legendary Maastricht summer concerts. He filmed these performances annually, edited them carefully, and fans eagerly snapped them up, proving André's belief that his audience always preferred something tangible they could hold in their hands. André wasn't just a great musician. He was a master showman who understood exactly what his fans wanted. He regularly produced themed albums like his famous movie themes collection, which included massive hits such as My Heart Will Go On. André admitted he rarely composed original music. Instead, he preferred taking classics people loved and rearranging them, adding his own personal twist. This formula never failed. Each album became a bestseller, fueling his empire and ensuring every musician and crew member got paid on time, every month. But success at this scale wasn't easy to maintain. André constantly faced enormous pressure to keep filling seats and selling records. Without donors or sponsors, every decision he made carried huge risks. He couldn't afford to slow down, even during a global pandemic when concerts stopped. André switched gears during this downtime, baking cakes for his neighbors and community to keep spirits high and stay connected. He used the break to plan even bigger projects, like his ambitious movie screening celebrating his 75th birthday in 2025 titled The Dream Continues. The event showcased never-before-seen performances from André's global tours played in cinemas. Worldwide, a grand celebration of his life's incredible journey from a kid dreaming in Maastricht to a global icon adored by millions. André never hid the secret behind his incredible rise: hard work, discipline, and taking risks nobody else dared. His Jewish father-in-law Edgar Kamen influenced him deeply through his collection of 300 vinyl records, introducing André to music he'd never heard before. These records shaped his style, making his performances accessible to millions who never imagined they'd love classical music. Pieces like Hava Nagila, a Jewish klezmer tune, became massive hits in André's concerts. His performance of this classic on YouTube alone attracted over 14 million views. André played everywhere, even Israel, where he received standing ovations performing beloved local songs like Jerusalem of Gold. Despite all this success, André never lost sight of his roots. On his 75th birthday, he celebrated in style, throwing a giant boat party that sailed through his hometown of Maastricht with his entire orchestra on board. Fans worldwide joined in through cinema screenings, experiencing iconic performances from decades of André's unforgettable shows. André built something nobody thought possible: a massive private orchestra, worldwide fame, and a fortune so large it made his family both proud and nervous.